First of all, I want to thank you so much for having me on Generational Change. I love the name. Um, I I really have been a fan of your show for a long time, and I'm happy. I remember vividly on being on the Tim Black show, and he mentioned your name, and he asked you about bring me on, and so I thank you for doing that. Um, reparations is something that's really as old as America. It's not a new concept for our nation. This right now, people try to make it seem as though it's a novel concept, but it's repairing the home, repairing the damage that you have done, that you have caused. Um, and just to give a quick philosophical underpinning under that, because I know when people say, well, that you have caused, because I remember I'm a proponent of HR 40, and I remember when
Yes.
the Congress was arguing that in the Senate, in the House subcommittee, and one of the congressmen actually said, well, it says you shouldn't pass using the Bible, right? It's saying that you should not pass the sins of the father down to the son. And when you hear it, it sounds like, okay, that may make sense, but that's even more reason to do reparations. Why? Because what we're talking about reparations or repair for is damage that America did. America, the United States of America, is the country that kidnapped Africans and brought them over here. America, in our Constitution, said that Black people were 3/5 human. America allowed for states to come into the Union as slaves. And they had a choice because they allowed some states to come in as free states. America allowed, even after slavery, for states to have Jim Crow laws. America upheld, Plessy versus Ferguson, saying separate was equal. That's America, right? And we needed Brown versus Board to say separate is not equal. America did all of that. This is no foreign entity. This is no Martian government. This is no Canadian government. America did that. So guess what? America is the daddy. We're not passing down a bill to a child. This is the same country. And so I think we need to know that and understand that we got the right one. We're not punishing the son. We're punished. This is the same country that did all of that. And so now that we understand that premise, knowing that we are still holding America to that debt that she has yet to pay. And as Dr. King said, when he went on the march on Washington, we are here to present America a check that's been come back and returns saying marked insufficient funds. She has yet to make right on the check of democracy, on the check of freedom. And so what does that check look like today? It looks like repair. So that goes in stages, right? It looks like repair from kidnapping people from their home. Kidnap the only demographic of people in this country that did not choose to come here are descendants of slaves, African Americans. The only demographic of people in this country that chose that did not willingly choose to be here are the descendants of slaves, my ancestors. And so a lot of people, when they try to start the clock on, or when they try to start the tab on, well, when should we pay reparations, on what damages should it be paid for, they started at, the 300 so years of involuntary bondage in America. No. When America kidnapped Africans and brought them over here, they weren't kidnapping slaves. They were kidnapping kings, queens, craftsmen, artisans, chiefs, and they made them to be slaves. They didn't kidnap people who were poor and homeless.
Not that would be okay, by the way. I mean, not that that's good, but I think it's important when we talk about this to recognize that it's like when you do that and you kill a culture, it's like it's a genocide. It's a genocide. Yeah. If not in a completely physical way, it's a genocide when you kill culture and you detach people from their culture and their roots and their history, and it's a domino effect that has led us to this place. And for anybody to not, that sins of the father thing makes no sense to me, because we're still beneficiaries of that. So like, whether or not, like, my people never owned anybody. I can assure you my people were fleeing pogroms in Russia with their businesses being burned down and came here with nothing. But I am a beneficiary of that system. So I don't feel guilty about about that. I didn't do that. But I recognize that this needs to be dealt with before we can advance as a people. Like, I think it's extremely like, it's very deep to me on that level. But what people want to know is, what does that look like? And I've seen it different ways. I recently read The Whiteness of Wealth by Dorothy Brown. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. Great book. And she is somebody who talks about this from a tax code perspective as a way to actually financially compensate, whether it's through credits or, I mean, it's just very interesting ideas. But I'm curious, like, financially speaking, what is the best way to go about repairing it from where we are now?
Yeah, financially speaking, quantifying, first of all, passing HR 40, because everything we know is tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, it is so, and so that's why I spend a lot of my time arguing the premise for reparations, because even now, the majority of Americans are against the principle of reparations. But before we even get to the policy,
right? They don't even know what it means. They don't even, like critical race theory. They don't even know what it means, but they're against it. They're against it. Right. All right.
So that's why I try to start off with the principle and what it means and why it is necessary. Because, call me an optimist, but I really would like to believe that most Americans are good-hearted people, that they want, if they know better, they would do better. So that's why I try to appeal to the hearts of man. You know, I love King's philosophy. I like just trying to appeal to the good nature. I'm a Bobby Kennedy fan. I like appealing to the good angels of our nature. So by starting off with the principle, I'm assuming, and some of my liberal friends think that's a dumb assumption. They think America's just going on its way to the bottom of the world. But I like to believe that our best days are still ahead of us. So I try to appeal to the better nature of man. So the principle is still not in favor by most Americans. The policy, yes, policy definitely funding, direct payments, different according to how long you've been in this nation, and to your suffering. So going back to the folks who've been kidnapped from Africa, not starting their clock when they came to America, but starting their clock when they were kidnapped and counting what they were taken from. But the sad part about it is, America has never done a comprehensive study from the damages of racism, white supremacy, slavery. That's why HR 40 is so important, and bills like it on a statewide and even national basis, because everything, and I've read so many books on reparations, it's ridiculous. Everything I've read, everything I've researched, it's all just the tip of the iceberg, because we've never had a congressional study. We've never had a 9/11 commission for racism or for slavery. We've never had, I mean, in fact, and I was in support of it, but we did more looking into, what's the brother's name? It feels like just yesterday, but it was a while ago. Donald Trump's issue. He was investigated with the Russian stuff. I forgot the name of that, but anyway,
the Mueller report.
The Mueller report. Yes, we did more investigation, the Mueller report, than we did on racism. I mean, we've studied we've done more studying on the atmosphere in Mars than we have on America's original sin, right? Yeah. And so, not discounting those studies, I definitely support the 9/11 Commission report. I definitely support the Mueller report. I think we need to look at whatever we can do to help advance our life, right? But if we can do that for those things, we ought to be willing to do that for others, especially racism. So everything I'm about to say is couched in that, with that caveat that as much as we know about what we need, there's so much more we don't know because there's never been a full study. But from what we do know, we know that folks were kidnapped from Africa. We know they were forced to be workers for free. We know they built the backbone of the American economy. Any historian, any economist that is credible can tell you America became the richest nation of the world.
Absolutely.
Not by Thanksgiving dinners with the Native Americans, but by having people kidnapped from Africa and forcing them to work and to grow tobacco,
cotton and tobacco.
And that made America the cash king. Wall Street was named for it because of the slave trade. They had to put a wall up in New York because the pious New Yorkers, they got tired of seeing slaves come out those ships. So they put a wall up on the street. That's why it's called Wall Street.
Didn't know that.
And people with black Africans were buried there as well. So this whole economy of our nation was based off slavery. And then after slavery was abolished, white supremacy, Jim Crow fueled the American economy, charging black people for goods they never received. If they did get them, they were subpar. We have been tax-paying citizens since emancipation. And just talking about from a financial standpoint, America owes black people a huge refund check. We paid to fund public schools we couldn't even go to. We paid to build libraries we couldn't even study in. We paid for police departments that killed and lynched and never investigated our cases. So talk about who's really been paying tax dollars. I've heard other congressmen say, well, it's not fair for me to pay taxes to go to somebody else's stuff. Well, black folk have been paying taxes for centuries in this country and been getting subpar treatment.
Yeah, I was fascinated. I'm sorry, with that tax book I read, I never realized the amount of white supremacy in our tax code. Granted, I find taxes incredibly boring, so I really don't know much at all about our tax code. But it's
messed up.
It is. Well, I tax law was my least favorite topic in law school, so I don't want to talk about it. It was ugly. But there's like certain things that I learned from reading that book. Our entire tax system is built around white people. And I don't think people understand how that is, because clearly you're not going to not get it. It doesn't act like race is not the key issue, but it's based on lifestyle choices that are more socially apparent in different communities. Example, two households earn $100,000. In the white household, you'll have a single breadwinner and a stay-at-home wife. And in the black household, you're more likely to have two equal working partners. And yet they're paying more taxes on their $100,000 than the single income earner. And like, this never occurred to me before. So there's so many things like that can be so fixed and tweaked pragmatically that I don't understand why this is so complicated for people to wrap their heads around.
And we have a formula already in place, because I mean, you asked about a number, how it can be done.
Yeah.
After the World War, when we attacked Japan, we put Japanese Americans in internment camps just because they were Japanese Americans. Terrible, atrocious. After the World War ended, they were released, of course, because they were not, working for the Japanese government. They were just trying to make a living in America, live out their American dream. The United States government, under a Republican president, Ronald Reagan, paid reparations in the sum of about $20,000 per Japanese American family that was put in internment camps. That was a Republican president and a Republican Congress. They did that. After the Civil War, the United States government, for those states who did not rebel after the Emancipation Proclamation was approved and the 13th Amendment passed, they paid the slave owners in states like Maryland and Kentucky for freeing their slaves.
Yeah. Well, look, Larry Elder still supports that. Larry Elder thinks that makes perfectly good sense.
Exactly. I know.
Did you see that? He was our bootlicker like 2 weeks ago.
It's sad. We paid slave owners, and on top of that, I went to University of Alabama, Roll Tide, by the way. The campus during the Civil War was used as a site to train Confederate soldiers. So during the Civil War, General Sherman and those, they torched it to the ground. The United States government paid reparations to the South after the Civil War. In fact, we have a building on our campus with a plaque that says, "Building built as repair to the South for Civil War. It says the actual word reparations to the South for the Civil War. We compare it to slave owners. We compare it to the Confederacy.
And wait, so black people are paying taxes to give reparations to slave owners.
Slave owners. I go one step further. The state of Alabama, where I was born and raised, after the Civil War, they paid the pension to Confederate generals. Who killed American soldiers until they died. Then when they died, the state of Alabama paid that pension to their surviving widower. Then after that, taxpayer dollars. Then after that, after the widows died, they took taxpayer dollars and they set up a Confederate memorial cemetery that's supported to this day, September 23rd, 2021, of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
My taxpayer dollars, my parents' taxpayer dollars go support a Confederate memorial. So for all those folks saying, why should my taxpayers go for reparations? How about why are your tax dollars today going to support Confederate memorials, folk who committed treason? Would America put up an Al-Qaeda memorial in New York City? No. Would Pearl Harbor put up a Japanese memorial right next to Pearl Harbor? No. But in America, we have Confederate memorials all over, and a lot of them are paid by state dollars.
It's disgusting. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.